So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Brady, and I work with the Corporation for National and Community Service in the Ohio State office. I am a program officer who oversees AmeriCorps VISTA and Senior Corps programs in the state, and I want to be the first to welcome you to your summer associate term of service. We have a significant amount of folks on the call today. Some of you may not be on Skype, but some of you may only be dialing in through your phones. If that is the case, please note I will be taking attendance for those of you who are not on Skype through email, and I'll give you those instructions at the end of the call. If you are on Skype, you can go ahead and type into the chat your name and the organization you're serving with. I need first and last name and organization you're serving with. If you're not comfortable putting that information into chat for attendance, you're welcome to follow the email instructions that I do provide later on in the call. So again, for attendance purposes, name and first and last name and the organization you are serving with in the chat of Skype. With that being said, I'm going to dive into the content of our information today and set you guys all up for a successful term of service and successful first day of your service term, most importantly. So, couple housekeeping items. I have placed all phones on mute, so you do not have to place your phones or computers on mute at this time, but at the end of the call, when we do get to a question and answer period, I'm going to be asking you to ask questions through the chat feature on Skype. If you are a person who is on the phone and not in Skype, what I will do once all the Skype questions are answered, I will take the phones off mute to allow people to ask questions over the phone. We do have a few polls during this presentation in which I ask you a few questions. I just want to get you engaged and keep you engaged through the call. So please participate in those polls, especially the first one. It will help me throughout the rest of the presentation. And again, type your name and service site in chat for attendance purposes. So with that being said, our agenda for today is a welcome. I'm going to talk to you about what VISTA is. What can you expect while you serve as a VISTA? What do you need to do next after this call to get yourselves prepared for your first day of service? And we'll also talk about where you go on your first day of service. So with that, I would like to very much welcome you to the National Service family. All of you serving as summer associates this summer are serving in a national service program that is part of a larger number of national service programs across the country. There are more than 80,000 individuals serving in AmeriCorps annually. And with that being said, there are 6,000 individuals serving specifically with VISTA annually. So you're part of a smaller cadre of individuals who are serving with national service through our Summer Associate VISTA program. It's also pretty exciting that we can officially state that there are over 1 million, that's 1 million AmeriCorps alumni from across the country. And so with that being said, we've had the stretch with our programs to touch 1 million individuals through service, number one, and then add to that, 1 million individuals have served, but imagine how many individuals have been touched by those million people who have served the country. And all of you, for every person you touch this summer, that's another individual who we can say has been touched by or served by national service participants. Just to give you a visual, actually we're going to start with a poll. I want to get an idea of those of you who are on the call and in Skype, how many of you have served with the AmeriCorps VISTA Summer Associate Program? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up a poll on your screen, and go ahead and once it loads, take a few seconds, read through the poll, and let me know if this is your first time serving, you've served one time before, or you served more than twice, 2 or more times. All right, I see a handful of responses coming in. I'll give you another 30 seconds to go ahead and respond to the poll. So have you served as a summer associate before, or is this your first time? All right. So for those of you who have responded and taken the time to respond, I see that a majority of you have in fact never served as summer associates before. So a lot of this information is going to be new to you. Some of you have served before. You've served one time before, and we welcome you back to the AmeriCorps VISTA Summer Associate Program, and am glad that you felt it valuable enough to come back and serve again. So we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a visual of what national service looks like across the country. And this visual doesn't show you necessarily pinpoints of where people serve across the country, but more gives you an idea of the number of national service members nationwide outside of just AmeriCorps. So the Corporation for National and Community Service, we're the federal agency who funds the AmeriCorps VISTA program. Within our agency, we have the AmeriCorps program, which all of you will be participating in through VISTA. We also have a program called Senior Corps, and annually there are over 360,000 Senior Corps members serving across the country. So if you add up all of our Senior Corps members, all of our AmeriCorps members, all of our VISTA members, all of our NCCC members, essentially in 1 year period of time, over 400,000 individuals are serving in a national service program. And that's a pretty impressive legacy. I will say, having served as a VISTA myself before, learning that I was part of this large national service family was great. It gave me a sense of community with my national service participation. So you're all participating in VISTA. What is this program called VISTA? VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America, and the program is over 50 years old. The great thing about the VISTA program is that it was developed specifically to eliminate and alleviate poverty in local communities across the country. And the program has evolved over the years, over the past 50 years, to meet the needs of local communities in a variety and different ways. In the very beginning of the program, VISTA members worked pretty significantly one-on-one with clients, and then at this point in the AmeriCorps VISTA program, for individuals who are doing a full year term of service, those individuals work on building the capacity of organizations that are reaching and touching the low-income population. So traditional VISTA members, they serve 365 days a year on a full-time basis, and they focus on the 3 bullet points that are listed on the screen and more. So this is not an all-inclusive list, but most frequently we have VISTA members participating in the expansion of community-based programs, developing new funding streams to make sure programs can persist in the long term, and they work on marketing programs to low-income populations. This is just a minor sampling of what VISTA members do, traditional VISTA members do on an annual basis. What summer associates do is critical to the success of some of the VISTA projects we have across the state. And so what your service is doing is part of and an expansion of or a touch of what full-time members are doing across the state in particular. So the summer associate programs, you are all different than traditional VISTA members in that, as I had mentioned on the previous screen, I specifically talk about on the previous screen how full-time members work on these what seem to be more office-based activities like expanding programs, writing curriculums, developing funding streams, whereas summer associates come in over the summer and they actually work directly with clients. And they work, not always, so I shouldn't say they always do, but most frequently, summer associates work directly with clients, and most frequently in the state of Ohio, what we have members doing includes feeding youth through summer feeding programs. We have some summer associates specifically working side by side with the low-income population to help construct or rehab homes so that there are more stable facilities available for the low-income population for their housing needs. Some of you are going to run educational programs throughout the summer, and then some of you are going to be recruiting volunteers and program participants. I also know that we have some summer associates who are specifically working on things such as creating new marketing campaigns for the organization you're serving. So the stretch of your activities are pretty great depending on what organization you are working with. And it is sometimes difficult when you are doing your day-to-day service. It's sometimes difficult to understand and to see the big picture and how you are impacting the low-income population. But I'd encourage you to take a step back every once in a while and look at the people you're touching on a daily basis, because that's going to give you a good understanding of how one person's service can impact an entire community, just one person at a time. So the bottom line truly with our summer associate program is that you're providing essential services that often complement full-time VISTA members. So where a VISTA member might develop a curriculum that would be delivered to youth, you might actually be delivering that program to youth over the summer. What you're seeing here on the screen is a picture from a summer associate program just last year. This was a summer feeding site where they had additional recreational activities for the community members so that they could be engaged not only in just receiving sustenance, but also in having some experiential opportunities throughout the summer. So I look forward to a lot of you doing this type of work through this coming summer. So what does it all mean to be a summer associate? What are your expectations? What should you expect throughout your summer? And what it means to be a summer associate is you're going to be serving 8 to 10 weeks at your service site. These weeks were predetermined by your site, and so they should be communicating with you on the number of weeks that you will be serving at your organization. So if you're not sure how many weeks you're going to be serving, reach out to your supervisor, ask them. They'll give you some more details on what the last day of your service will be for the summer. The expectation is that you're at your service site on a full-time basis. You're going to be there 40 hours a week, and you're going to be providing services to clients, to your organization that are critical to the success of your organization. But what does it mean to be full-time at your site? It means that your agency has policies related to what full-time means. So what does it mean to be a full-time staff member at Family and Community Services? And they'll be able to tell you, well, full-time at our agency is you're going to work 35 hours a week and have an hour lunch every day, which basically comes out to 40 hours. So we want to see those types of arrangements if ever we come out and take a look at your service site. So expect to be engaged and be serving for a on a full-time basis throughout the summer. Also throughout the summer, you're going to be following your agency's policies where you're serving. The AmeriCorps VISTA program does have some policies around your service term, and we're going to get to some of those details in a little bit. But when in doubt, you're going to follow your agency policies as it relates to leave time, as it relates to, well, we'll get back to leave time because there's limited amount of leave time. But you're gonna follow your agency's policies as it relates to how what you should be wearing, when you should be coming to your service site, how you interact with clients, what is appropriate and inappropriate as it relates to having conversations about various topics. So you're going to want to read through your agency's policies and understand what they are when you get to the service site so you're not violating any of those policies during your service term. You're going to be providing essential services to your organization, as I had referenced earlier. And what we expect and know will happen is that you're really facilitating a lot of the community change that will happen at your organization as a result of your service. So we're reliant on you to really make things happen within your local community based on your service. So as far as serving with our program, you know that you have to follow your agency's policies. You know that you're going to want to keep up with your agency's you're going to want to keep up with your agency expectations. You'll be talking to your sponsor about how to complete timesheets, etc. But what you also need to know is that for your service, we do provide you some benefits. And the reason we provide benefits for serving with the VISTA program is we want you to be able to serve without having to be concerned about how you'll make ends meet. So this is the way we do that is we provide you a subsistence allowance in the amount of $994 a month. And this subsistence allowance will be paid to you through direct deposit on a biweekly basis. So you'll want to be making sure that all of your paperwork is completed, and we're going to go through how you complete your paperwork in a few minutes. But you're going to want to make sure all of your paperwork is completed before you begin your service so that you can be sure that you're going to get your direct deposit every other week. Without direct deposit information into our system, you will get a paper check for your service, and those paper checks can sometimes take upwards of 2.5 weeks to arrive to your service site location. It is not sent to your home, which could delay your receipt of that subsistence allowance, which is why direct deposit is so important for you. You also get to choose between an education award or a cash stipend, and I'm going to break these down for you just a little bit. The education award is in the amount of $1,333, and that is going to be paid to you not by way of cash, but instead through what I would call an electronic voucher. On the My AmeriCorps portal, which is where you all have applied for your VISTA position, on that system you will have the ability to you're going to have the ability to enter in your where you would like your education award payments to go. You can apply your education award to past federally backed student loans or future education at Title IV institutions. So when I say specifically federally backed loans, I'd encourage you, if you're going to use your education award to pay back some past student loans, that you understand and take a look at those loans and make sure that they are in fact federally backed loans that the education award can be applied to. The education award is taxed in the year that you use it, so keep that in mind. You'll get a 1099 indicating that you used some of your education award, which would then be considered as income and is reportable for tax purposes. If you choose the cash stipend can be up to $150 for your service term. This amount is prorated based on the length of your assignment. So like I had mentioned before, your assignment is either 8, 9, or 10 weeks, and based on the length of that assignment, your award will be prorated. Your sponsor should be able to tell you the amount of your educational, the amount of the cash stipend that you'll receive at the end of your service term. And so you'll want to communicate with them if in fact you're choosing the cash stipend. This is paid out upon successful completion of your service term. Similar to the education award, it only becomes available upon successful completion of your service term. And you'll get that the cash stipend in your last paycheck. And so you'll see that in your last paycheck, and that can be used for any purpose. That is not restricted like the education award is. So that's a little bit more about those two benefits. In relationship to these benefits, this next slide really just walks you through some of the details I already shared. And I'm going to go over them just very briefly again. Again, the subsistence allowance is paid bi-weekly through direct deposit. Federal taxes are withheld from your living allowance or subsistence allowance. Local and state taxes are not withheld from your living allowance. And so you're going to want to keep track of that because those will become your responsibility, those state and local taxes, when you complete your taxes at the end of the year. The Education Award, as I mentioned, can be used for student loans or future education. And the cash stipend is available in your final paycheck. So again, those are the brief details. I went over them a couple of times just so to reiterate and to make you comfortable with the expectations around these two awards. While you are serving in the VISTA program, as I had mentioned before, your agency policies are going to be the guiding principles for you during your service term. But there are a couple of VISTA rules that apply to summer associates that I want you to become familiar with and comfortable with. The first is you cannot participate in political activities during your service term. You cannot be instructed to do political activities as part of your service term, which means you can't encourage whatever your personal political beliefs are. You cannot campaign for a political candidate at your service site, and you cannot register people to vote at your service site. You can do any of these activities while you are outside of your service hours and not representing the AmeriCorps VISTA program, but just keep in mind that if you're in small communities, some people have a difficult time differentiating or determining whether you are representing VISTA or not. So keep that in mind when you do these activities outside of your service hours. And also keep in mind that if you have any VISTA gear, VISTA shirts, or any of your agency's clothing, those should not be worn and visible if you do participate in political activities outside of your service. Similarly, religious activities are not allowable during your service term. I know we have a number of folks on the call who are serving with faith-based organizations, and we certainly are excited about those partnerships, welcome those partnerships, especially because faith-based organizations do have such a large stretch. A couple of things to note, though, if you are serving at a faith-based organization. Number one is you cannot prohibit the services that you're providing to individuals based on their religious beliefs. So all of the programs that all of you are working on this summer should be all-inclusive and should allow anybody to participate regardless of religious affiliation, which means you cannot require participants to pray during their service term. Now, if you are a person who does engage in prayer, and let's say that there is a prayer before meals, it's not required, but prayer before meals if people choose to participate, you are welcome to do so as a VISTA member. You just cannot lead the prayer, and you cannot require anybody else to say the prayer. And lastly, you cannot recruit participants to follow your faith. So you cannot proselytize during your service term. So these are the things that you cannot do. They're pretty significant ramifications if you do participate in any of these activities. Now I will say, if your site asks you to participate in any of these activities, you have the right to say you are not allowed to and you cannot participate in these activities. So keep that in mind, and if you need any assistance, call my office and talk to myself or one of my colleagues. We can help you navigate that situation at your site. I'm going to push out another poll for you all, and we're going to just do a quick learning check based on what activities you think would be allowable and what would not be allowable. So I'm going to go ahead and present that now to all of you. Take a minute, read through the poll, and fill it out. The question is, for those of you who may only be on the phone, just ponder this. What activity is unallowable? Feeding youth during summer camp? Distributing flyers to local community members about the program offering? distributing flyers that are political in nature, or writing grants. So I'm going to give you about 20 more seconds to respond to this poll as I see more responses coming in. All right, so of those of you who participated, you all got this right. An unallowable activity is distributing flyers that are political in nature. So congratulations for those of you who took the time to take the poll. We're going to go back to the PowerPoint now, and we're going to dive into a couple of more details. We're slowly getting towards the question and answer period, but as a reminder, before we move on, if you are on the Skype, please type your name and organization into the chat box for attendance purposes. If you are on the phone call, I will be providing you details with how you can email me to let me know that you participated in the call at the very end of the call. And lastly, go ahead and in the chat ask any questions you have if you do have questions. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about how you learn what your site expects from you, and then we'll go into some details about the pre-work that you need to do before you show up to your service site on the first day of service. So as a VISTA member, like I've mentioned several times, you're going to follow your agency's personnel policies. And it's important to know that all of your sites are required to provide you what is called an on-site orientation. This is going to be provided to you on your first day of service for those of you who are going to be at your service site on the first day. I know I have a significant amount of folks on this call who are going to be at a big training in Columbus, and for those of you, you're going to be receiving your on-site orientation the day immediately following your large in-person training. So basically, your on-site orientation should happen in the first 2 days of your service term. The on-site orientation is going to give you instructions on your VISTA assignment. So during your orientation, you should all be receiving what is called a VISTA assignment description. And the VISTA assignment description is the tool or the template that's going to be your framework for your VISTA service term. So you're going to want to make sure that while you are getting your on-site orientation, you have a good look at your VISTA assignment description and understand what the service expectations are for you. If you have any questions about what is expected of you during your service term, that is the best time to ask when you're getting your on-site orientation and going through your VISTA assignment description. You're going to be learning about what resources are available to you during your on-site orientation. I know that all of you have significant needs that need to be met as it relates to what types of resources are necessary to complete your service. Meaning some of you are going to need access to craft supplies for your summer activities. Some of you need to understand how you get access to the food that you will be providing to the youth. You should be given all of that resource information on your first couple of days of service and during your on-site orientation. If for any reason you are not understanding or getting the resources you need, you can go ahead and call your VISTA sponsor, or you can call my office and we would certainly be able to help you, again, navigate that process in getting the resources you need to be successful. As a summer associate, it's important for you to know that, and this is as a VISTA member just in general, your service site has the right to request your removal from the site if you are not following agency policies. So if you are not following agency policies, your organization can say, I need you to go home today, and we're going to be in touch with the state office about next steps related to your VISTA service term. My office has the authority to terminate you from service if there is need for that to happen. if you were to violate any of the agency policies. Just want you to know that that is a possibility. I think it's important for you to know that there are some circumstances in which people have been terminated from service. It's not often, but I certainly don't want any of you to get into a situation where you are terminated from service when it could have been avoided early on by following the rules and regulations that your site will give you and that we'll walk you through here in a few minutes. It's also important for you to know that discrimination and harassment is not allowable. You should not be discriminated against or harassed during your service term. Similarly, you should not be discriminating or harassing anybody during your service term. So all of our sites have the same protections as you, and they should not feel uncomfortable at the site, and they should know that it's a safe space when they go there every day. And if a VISTA member is making the safe space unsafe, at that point, that is another reason we can terminate somebody from service. But even more importantly, we want to make sure that none of you who are on this call and participating as summer associates are discriminated against or harassed during your service term. So keep that in mind. If you feel as though you are discriminated against or harassed during your service term, let my office know, and we will we'll work with you to give you the information for our Office of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness to deal with that situation as necessary. So what's next? Before you become a summer associate, you're going to have to do several things. And they're pretty simple, but they do include probably about an hour worth of work to make sure it's all completed. You're going to take a couple of online courses, your Benefits of Service course and your Terms and Conditions course. You're going to complete online paperwork related to all of the documents I had mentioned before. And we're going to take a look at where you're going to find the details on how to do all of this in a minute. And you're also going to make a decision on whether you want the cash stipend or the education award. You're going to fill out the education award form, the election form, on your first day of service. So be prepared to not receive that until your first day of service, but all the other paperwork must be completed prior to the beginning of your service term. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can access all of the information on the pre-work for your VISTA service term. I'm also going to tell you when we expect all of your paperwork to be completed for your service term. So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to present to you my desktop. And what you're going to see on the screen is the VISTA campus. And some of you might be saying, well, what is the VISTA campus? And if you're asking yourself that question, that's totally understandable. The VISTA campus is the website in which you are going to be able to take the required courses, learn about service, and also it will give you instructions on how you can complete all of your online paperwork prior to becoming a summer associate. So what you see on your screen, for those of you who are on the Skype, is the VISTA campus. This site can be found at vistacampus.gov, and it's spelled just like that, VISTA campus, like a college campus, .gov. When you get to the main page of the VISTA campus, the first thing you're going to need to do is create an account. Now, I'm not going to show you that, but I will show you where you can find the link to create an account. When you first come to this page, you're going to see a link up here on the top right-hand side of the page. And on the top right-hand side of the page, you're going to create a new account. Once you have an account created, you're going to find that the most important link for you is going to be here at the top of the screen, Life as a VISTA. You can go ahead and click on this link, or what you can do is you can use the resources that are right from this drop-down or pick list. And what you'll see here is under pre-service, what you're going to want to do is go to Life as a VISTA, go to pre-service, and click on Starting Summer Associates. Once you click on this link, the world is going to open up on all the expectations for you during your service term. So click on Starting Summer Associates. And then what you're going to see is a welcome page for Summer Associates. You've likely gotten this link through email if you have fully been assigned to your service site in our system. Some of you have not been assigned because you have citizenships pending, Social Security information pending. If you are not assigned, it's important for you to know that some of the information that you see here is not going to be available to you until you're assigned. We're doing that as we are able for all people who are on this call, just so you know. As paperwork comes in, we're getting people assigned immediately. So once you get to this Starting Summer Associates page, you're going to have your welcome. You're also going to have the required online courses listed right here for you. You need to take the Benefits of Service course, and you also need to take the VISTA Terms and Conditions course. The VISTA Terms and Conditions course takes a couple of steps. The instructions that you see right here on this page will walk you through making sure all of the steps are completed appropriately for this requirement to be fully completed in the system. So we'll want you to make sure that you're following all the instructions here. Both of these courses should be completed at least 1 week prior to you becoming a summer associate. So if your start date is June 5th, you should plan on having all of this paperwork done by what would be May 29th. Similarly, if you start on June 12th, we're going to ask that you make sure this paperwork is done by June 5th, or these online courses, and the paperwork for that matter. So you're going to make sure that you're getting these 2 courses done at least 1 week prior to your service term. Then the second part of the work that you will need to complete are your onboarding forms. Your onboarding forms are your direct deposit, federal tax withholding, and designation of beneficiary forms. These forms, again, these will not be available to you in the system until you have been placed for service. Most of you have been placed for service, but we still have about a good 20 folks who are outstanding. And if you're outstanding, don't worry about it. If you haven't heard from us, you are on track to be placed. We're just waiting for something to get taken care of in our system before we can place you. If you have heard from us, it means we need you to do some additional steps before we can place you. Make sure you're doing those in a timely fashion, because these forms will not become available to you until anything you need to do is completed. But you're going to finish these required onboarding forms on the My AmeriCorps portal. And that is where you have actually applied for your VISTA position. So we're going to go and look at the My AmeriCorps portal. We're not going to log in. I'm just going to show you the landing page. So this is the page that you're going to log into. Once you log into this page, you will be able to navigate the system to find your direct deposit forms, your federal tax withholding forms, and your unpaid compensation information. All 3 of these forms are going to be found under the Living Allowance tab in your My AmeriCorps portal. So you'll be able to find all of this information there. There is some optional coursework that I would recommend you take a look at. One is the Education Award website. It will give you more information on how you can use your Education Award. Civil Rights and Responsibilities. This will give you information on how to make sure that you are in line with and following civil right and responsibility laws. You can watch a video on the mission of VISTA, get a better understanding of how the VISTA campus works, and also the VISTA member handbook. So those are optional forms available for you. So with that, we're going to flip back over to the PowerPoint presentation, and we will then take care of a couple of more topics, and then we should be able to move into questions and answers. So give me a moment while I turn the PowerPoint back on. All right. So as this is loading, and it took us all the way back to the beginning, my apologies for that. While I navigate to the main screen, I just want to reiterate one thing and let you know what we're going to be doing for you. In the lead up to your service term, you should all be completing those online forms. We're going to be running reports. We're going to be sending out emails to your sponsors, letting them know what has been completed and what has not been completed. These are just friendly reminders to make sure all of your paperwork gets submitted on time and in the system. We cannot activate you for service until every piece of your paperwork is completed. And essentially, you should not be even at your service site unless all of your paperwork is completed. And that's for liability's sake, for your protection. So keep that in mind. Make sure you're doing all of your paperwork accordingly. You will, again, get reminders if your paperwork is not completed. But you should be watching for an email from your supervisor that will include where you're supposed to show up on your first day of service, who you should talk to on your first day of service, and details regarding your expectations during your service term. So watch for some type of communication from your supervisor to give you an indication of what you should be doing on your first day of service. I'm going to do one more learning check, and we're going to ask you about paperwork requirements. So I've currently put on the presentation, what paperwork must you complete prior to service? Oh, and this question is backwards. No wonder I'm getting so confused responses. This question should say, what paperwork must you complete prior to service? And there should be a fourth option, or fifth option rather. So let me just help you out with the response on this. The paperwork you should complete prior to service is the acceptance of terms, conditions, and benefits, the direct deposit, and the W-4. The oath of service is something that you will get on your first day of service when you get to your service site. So you do not need to complete that prior to your service term. Everything else does need to be completed prior to your service term. Nothing like a trick question to end the presentation. But with that being said, we're going to flip back over to the Summer Associate PowerPoint. And what we're going to do is summarize a few things for you regarding your first day of service. And then we'll move into the question and answer phase of this call. So on your first day of service, you're going to be submitting your paperwork to your sponsor. Your paperwork is a packet of activation paperwork that is separate from what I have just referenced and walked you through. You're going to be given two forms. You're going to be asked to fill them out. One is your oath of service and the other is your end of service benefit election form. So you'll get that. You're going to turn it into your supervisor. You're going to be sworn into service. For most of you, it's going to be over the phone. On your first day of service, we will have a swearing in at noon, and you will dial into that swearing in call, and we'll swear you in over the phone, and at that point you will officially become VISTA members. You're going to participate in your training and orientation on your first day. You're going to get a better understanding of your assignment for the summer and learn about the resources that are available for your summer associate term. So essentially what I did was I gave you all of the information that you need from this point to your first day of service to become successful. Once you get to your service site, they're going to be providing you with the information that you need to be successful while you are at your service site. So hopefully what we've done is given you information that will help you so that you do complete everything on time. We can activate you on time and get you paid on time. And with that being said, I've concluded with all of the information I have for you today. I do want to encourage you to type any questions you do have in chat. For those of you who are on the phone and you did not get on Skype and could not type your name and organization into chat, I'm going to ask that you send me an email. My email address is sbrady@cns.gov. So that's sbrady@cns.gov. In the subject line of the email, I'm going to have you type in Senior Core. Subject line should be Senior Core. And then in the body of the email should be your name and organization. So again, that's sbrady@cns.gov. The subject line should say Senior Core. And then the body of the email should be your name and the organization where you're serving. So with that said, we've officially concluded the content for today. I'm going to take questions through chat. If anybody has questions through chat, I'm going to give you about a minute to enter your questions in chat. Once that minute is up, if I don't see any questions, I will open the phone lines for additional questions. So any questions, a minute will start about now.